Hey guys, tonight we embark on a journey across the vast Mongolian steppe under the quiet gaze of the stars. Imagine yourself wrapped in warmth as outside the grass glimmers with the delicate touch of frost. You're there just before the break of dawn, feeling the chilling serenity of the night. And then suddenly, there's the rapid drumming of hooves in the distance. But don't fret. This isn't an army charging through or a bustling caravan full of treasures. No, it's just a lone rider, a Mongol postal courier astride his swift horse, carrying precious scrolls instead of a blade. And he's riding faster than most of us could even fathom, weaving through the night like a whisper on the wind. You probably won't survive this wild, exhilarating ride, but we can dream, can't we? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. As we drift into this journey of imagination and history, feel free to let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there with you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. The stars slowly begin to fade as the sky softens from inky black to the gentlest shades of purple and blue. Underneath the vast heavens, you feel part of something larger, caught between the night and the coming dawn. The horse beneath the courier moves with silent power, each stride eating up the ground as if it were placed merely to be run over. His breath rises in small clouds, joining with the collective exhale of the earth itself. Historians still debate whether these legendary couriers had specific rituals before starting their journeys. Did they perhaps whisper a prayer to the spirits of the steppes, asking for protection? While we may never know with certainty, it's fascinating to think about who these riders were bridging distances that seemed unfathomable for their time. Imagine their lives darting between towns and villages, connecting empires with little more than the gallant strength of their horses. The courier's journey isn't just a race against time, it's one of skill and survival. You notice how he deftly navigates the terrain, his eyes scanning for the slightest movement in the shadows. Perhaps what's surprising is how they relied on a deep understanding of the land, communicating with it in a way few others could. Just imagine reading the winds and deciphering the telling tracks in the ground, a far cry from today's GPS navigation. The Mongol Empire at its peak boasted the most extensive, contiguous land empire the world has ever seen, and it was all held together partly by these tireless couriers. Utilizing a network known as the Yam stations, were set at intervals where riders could stop, refresh, and switch horses. With new steeds waiting, messages sped across the empire like an ancient living internet. As you watch the riders form, rises and falls with the horse graceful as a dancer, it's clear this isn't his first journey. We know from the past that these riders were selected for their skill and endurance, often practicing from childhood. To ride so perfectly in rhythm with the horse required years of dedication and training. The ground blurs beneath them, the landscape transforming in a continuum of motion. The swimmer-like grace of the horse counterbalances its rider, who holds tightly but with ease, trusting and trusted by his mount. The frost from early morning shimmers on their path, crumbling softly under swift hooves, like ancient secrets giving way. In another rapid breath, the courier will crest a small rise just as the sun kisses the horizon, spilling light like a paintbrush across a canvas. And as you imagine riding on their heels, remember to take a deep breath and let your imagination stretch across the ages, meeting the dawn just as the dawn meets the earth. The sun peeks over the horizon, casting a warm golden hue across the vast steppes of the Mongol Empire. You find yourself astride a sturdy horse, the wind whispering in your ears as you embark on a journey unlike any other. Unlike the cobblestone roads of faraway lands here, the earth stretches endlessly unmarked by human hands, yet etched deeply into your memory. Your journey relies not on maps, but on the ancient network of the Yam. This intricate system of relay stations scattered across the empire offers you fresh horses and brief moments of rest and sustenance. Historians still debate whether this vast network stretched as far as the sea, but its genius is undisputed. The Yam enables swift communication across an empire so large it spans nearly the entire width of Asia and into Europe, a feat unparalleled in its time. You ride on your senses in tune with the environment. The angle of the sun guides your path, its golden beams illuminating your course like a natural compass. Each gust of wind carries a unique scent, a mixture of dry earth and distant forests that hints at the regions you've passed and those yet to come. Your instincts sharpen as you navigate this living, breathing map imprinted in your mind. Occasional stops at rest stations bring stories from other travelers. They talk of how each station is meticulously prepared with attendants ready to provide fresh horses and supplies, allowing you to continue your journey with minimal pause. One seasoned courier recounts an unusual tale, a station where a fox was once trained to welcome travelers, its keen senses detecting the approach long before any human eyes could see the dust rising on the horizon. As your journey progresses, you realize that each route demands a different strategy. You adjust your pace according to the sun's position, mindful of conserving energy for mountains, yet understanding the urgency when crossing the expanse of the plains. This is more than a ride. It's a careful dance with nature. You become acutely aware that Mongol messengers like you are not just masters of the land, but also whisperers to the sky. Night approaches, and the stars become the lanterns lighting your path. Among them, constellations act like ancient friends, each position in the sky, another point on your journey's map. You remember the stories of the elders of how messengers would communicate their messages in sequence, with the stars delivering news as if the heavens themselves ordained it. Through the endless steppe, where the notion of borders blurs into the natural landscape, your ride is relentless yet calming. You, a guardian of the message, understand that this nomadic yet thriving system gave the Mongol Empire an unprecedented ability to communicate quickly over great distances. As a lark sings its morning tune, you shift in your saddle, mentally cataloging the lay of the land with the precision of an ancient cartographer. How strange it is, you muse, that although no ink marks this path on paper, it remains a vividly sketched route in the mind's eye. You ride onward, continuing one story in a multitude of journeys across an empire connected not by roads, but by the bond between horse and rider, the texture of earth underfoot, and the unyielding flow of time itself. In a land of danger and betrayal, your journey begins as you grasp a small, unassuming object, the paisa. Don't let its size fool you. This token is steeped in authority, commanding the respect of all, even the highest of nobility. It's granted you the power to demand horses to fill your belly with nourishment and to rest your weary head in safety. The paisa could open any gate that stands before you, and it now hangs lightly around your neck. You've traveled many miles, your thoughts drifting to tales of old couriers who carried such a badge with similar authority across vast territories, traversing mountains and rivers, and yet always reaching their destination as though whispers rode upon the Vichy wind. In those times, the Mongol Empire flourished, stretching far and wide under the leadership of Genghis Khan, whose reach extended across Asia into Europe. Isn't it remarkable to think that during the 13th century, you could cross from one end of the empire to the other with nothing but the paisa as your guide and guarantee? Your journey today leads you through a lush forest where the rustling leaves narrate stories of travelers who passed before. Some were successful, but many journeys were lost to time. As your mind wanders back, you recall reading about how historians still debate whether Genghis Khan instituted this practice personally or adapted it from earlier cultures. But amidst these mysteries lies the undeniable fact that the paisa enforced a network of trust and communication, as effective as it was clandestine. The path beneath your feet morphs from soft soil to cobbled stone, a sign that you're nearing a settlement. As you approach, you remember the unusual stories about the couriers who, while valued for their speed and reliability, were required to signal their arrival with the haunting call of a horn announcing themselves to those within the gates. The sound echoing through the night air was a somber melody that readied even the deepest sleeper to welcome their arrival. Safely maneuvering through the settlement, you are greeted by curious glances and whispers carried on the breeze, their words tinged with both reverence and skepticism. You can't help but feel the weight of history on your shoulders. Back then, entire systems were built upon such simple tokens, a web of expectations and deliveries that kept vast distances from growing cold with silence. You catch your reflection in a still pond, seeing the paisa glint in the dim light. In that mirrored surface, whispers of ancient secrets, ripple secrets that even you might not be privy to. And yet here you stand, their living echo, the next node in a complex map of routes and way stations of stories, carried not in bags, but in hearts and minds. With darkness falling, the chilly air wraps around you like an old comforting cloak. You're reminded that every courier who walked this road before you rested beneath these same stars, their dreams tethered to both duty and wanderlust. And it's said that on particularly clear nights, if you look closely, you can spot the trail of the paisa shining brightly amidst the constellations, a celestial map guiding travelers across the heavens, just as the physical ones marked their way on earth. As your eyelids grow heavy, you find solace in the soft murmurs of the forest and the gentle crackling of the night under a canopy of stars, painting an age-old melody in your mind. There, nestled in your thoughts, you find dreams filled with the promise of new beginnings and the whispers of an ancient past cradling you in a timeless embrace until sleep finds you at last. Once the awe-inspiring Mongol Empire with its vast stretches of land relied on something unique to stay connected, the agile and swift Mongol couriers. You find yourself in a time when messages were not sent with a flick of a finger. Instead, these messages galloped across endless terrain on horseback. Close your eyes and picture the boundless steppes before you where the grass sways gently in the wind and the skies stretch infinitely above. Imagine settling on the back of a horse as it trots tirelessly along a worn path. But as you approach each distant point, or two, as they call it, a fresh horse, awaits you your new companion, ready to carry you another long stretch. The beauty of this system lies not in the grandeur of the horses, for these steeds are not the noble breeds of knights and lords, but in their rugged endurance. These horses aren't here to impress. They're here to work, and they work like history had never seen before. As you feel the steady thrum of hooves beneath you drifting into a serene rhythm, you might be surprised by just how far one can travel in a single day. A trained courier could cover up to 200 miles, a feat you might find incredible, or perhaps intimidating, considering the wear on one's muscles. Historians still debate whether this speed was possible without the spirits of the steppe guiding each rider. It's a marvel considering the vast distances they traversed, the connection they maintained across the sprawling empire. To be such a courier was no small task. You needed to be resilient, much like the horses you rode. With each switch at an or two, you gain a partner that brims with renewed energy, a true kin of the steppe. The landscape, unchanging and eternal in its beauty, becomes your constant companion, whispering its age-old stories in the breeze as you pass. Nothing greets you other than the soft rustle of grass and the gentle roar of the wind. Picture yourself leaning slightly forward, clutching the reins, firmly feeling the raw power of the horse, its every muscle in sync with yours. You race toward the horizon, where the sun touches the earth, painting it in hues of orange and pink. Each hoofbeat tells a tale of endurance and communication, vital to an empire that sought to stay united despite its daunting vastness. An unusual detail you might find intriguing is how these interspersed relay stations were not mere outposts. They were strategic hubs of communication designed to be efficient and precise. Just as unexpected stories reach your ears, consider that each courier was a vital knot in the empire's web, connecting not only places, but also people, ideas, and commands. As the night begins to crawl over the land, a canopy of stars sprawling above you, find comfort in the rhythm, just like those couriers might have found solace in knowing they were part of something larger than themselves. Their journey required a blend of strength and solitude, each day ending in the gentle embrace of a moonlit steppe. These couriers were the real engines of the Mongol expansion, executing their tasks with an understated grace, reminiscent of how you glide into dreams ever so gently and ever so seamlessly. It is with this gentleness and quiet wonder that we step further into the night. Stories like these, our silent companions as you drift further from the day's demands into the restful embrace of sleep. The sound of hooves striking the ice beneath you creates a rhythmic melody in the silent moonlit valley. Each echoing step reverberates through the crisp winter air, and you can almost feel the vibration in your bones. The frozen river you're following isn't a barrier. Rather, it's a glittering path laid out before you, stretching out across the expansive landscape like a silver ribbon. Every cloud of breath you exhale dissipates into the cool, still air, rising like wisps of smoke from a distant chimney. The great thing about these frozen rivers is the way they seem to defy nature, leading travelers like you through the heart of wintry wilderness straight to your destination. Once, long before automobiles and planes ever claimed the title of rapid transit, these icy corridors were lifelines connecting distant lands. Riders much like yourself depended on them. As you nudge your horse forward, the world feels vast and eternally still. There's a serenity in this environment, a quietude interrupted only by the crunch of snow and the whispering wind. But before you get too comfortable, let's remember that you're engulfed in the elements. A single misstep might have you slipping onto ice that feels as unforgiving as it does beautiful. So tread carefully, or you might end up part of the frostbitten landscape, a tale of caution against this enchanting backdrop. It's fascinating to realize that centuries ago, these frozen trails were used by fur traders and messengers alike, carrying goods and news across distances that seemed insurmountable during the summer months. They traveled without the modern tools we take for granted, relying entirely on instinct and memory. You've often wondered how they managed such feats, navigating in blinding snowstorms with no landmarks to guide them. Yet somehow, they always found their way, driven by an unyielding sense of direction and purpose. Historians still debate the exact techniques these winter travelers used. Maybe there was some secret art to their navigation that we'll never quite grasp. Your horse trots confidently forward, almost as if it shares your determination. Through the swirling snow, you spot a figure ahead, barely discernible against the white landscape. A fellow rider. As you approach, the figure resolves into a small encampment. A few woolen tents clustered around a central fire pit, flames flickering feebly against the encroaching cold. They're fur traders, you suspect, judging by their thick coats and the goods piled in a makeshift sled nearby. Surprisingly, fur was one of the most significant exports in regions like these during the winter months, even more valuable than gold for a time. They're warming themselves around the fire, exchanging stories and laughs. They motion for you to join them and offer warmth from the bitter chill. As you sit, the conversation flows easily like the river below. One of the traders shares an unusual tale about a traveler last winter who used powdered chalk to mark his path on the trees, thinking it a cunning method to prevent getting lost. Didn't account for the snow covering everything. The trader chortles, shaking his head at the idea. It's a reminder of the clever and sometimes futile attempts humans make to conquer nature's challenges. As your hands regain warmth and the trader's stories blend into the crackling of the fire, you think back to the resolve of those ancient riders. It's remarkable how not even the biting wind, which now lightly stings your cheeks, could slow the delivery of their precious messages. The urgency of communication transcended the elements, much as it does today, though the means have drastically changed. You wonder if their hearts beat a little faster, as yours does now, with the culmination of a journey so demanding yet so rewarding. The fire's glow casts a soft halo, blurring the edges of the camp, and with it comes a drowsy contentment, as if the night itself is tiptoeing around to lull you softly with its chill arms. Yet even in this tranquility, there's a small bit of sarcasm murmured within a chuckle at your own resolve to face the icy foe and use it as a guide rather than a roadblock. With the stories told and warmth spread, the traders pack up, readying themselves for the night. You decide to press on, bidding them farewell. As you leave the encampment behind the stars above, become your soul companions, reflecting like scattered diamonds on the icy path ahead. Your journey continues the map of frozen rivers drawing you forward. Automated memories of the land take over where vision fails, each step steady and unhesitant. Driven by some inner compass, the frozen world evokes in you. The wind plays a soft melody across the snow-swept land, filling your senses with a calm reassurance that whispers of both the past and the promise of journeys yet to come. And as you ride further into the night, with only the crunch of ice and the rhythmic fall of hooves marking time, you find a piece of history clinging to the present moment, echoing stories shared in the flicker of a campfire and the shared silence of a solitary ride. You carry these echoes with you, cocooned in the gentle embrace of the winter landscape, as the river guides you calmly, steadily onward through the night. Every 25 to 30 miles, you find yourself standing in the shadow of a simple rustic hut. These structures, though modest and unassuming, are scattered across the vast stretches of an empire, quietly serving as its pulsing veins. You step inside, welcomed by the rich aroma of simmering broth, a scent that wraps around you like a well-worn blanket. It's amazing how a mere pot of humble broth can become such an integral part of the empire's grand machinery. The station keeper offers you a knowing nod, a universal gesture of calm recognition. You probably won't survive without these brief stops, moments of respite that keep you going. Each station is a temporary refuge for weary travelers, a place where new horses stand ready to replace the exhausted steeds that have tirelessly brought you this far. Historians still debate whether these huts were designed more for the survival of the empire's military messengers or for the traders who crisscrossed the lands. But one thing is certain: each station is a crucial cog in the empire's vast operational wheel. Here time seems to slow as you sip the warm broth, savoring its salty, earthy essence, while listening to the low murmurs of wind against the wooden walls. While the station keeper busies himself with mundane chores, you notice something unusual: a small collection of brightly colored stones lined on a shelf. Peculiarly, These stones are arranged in a particular order, perhaps a silent testimony to the station keeper's longing for decor in a place so marred by routine. This peculiar sense of decoration, though seemingly insignificant, gives the place a touch of personality, making it more than just another stop along the road. As the station keeper moves the stones with careful deliberation, you can almost imagine the unspoken stories they hold. Could it be a secret code, or merely the keeper's attempt to entertain himself during countless lonely nights? These mysteries float unanswered, much like the act of relay travel itself. An endless series of questions strung together like beads on the Empire's woven tapestry. Once you've rested a bit, your eyes wander to the corner, where fresh horses await, restless but sturdy, ready to take on the next leg of the journey. Their breath rises like steam in the cool air, merging with the mist outside, forming a curtain that blurs today's present with yesterday's journey. As your journey continues, you find yourself increasingly dependent on these remarkable animal companions. Each new horse signals a renewal of purpose, a shot of energy through the veins of travel. It's almost comical how such massive machines of muscle can be swapped with such casual efficiency. Well, they will inevitably carry you through daunting terrains you can only dream of crossing on foot. You thank the station keeper with a nod, a silent acknowledgement of your shared part in this ancient dance. It's a ritual that transcends time and culture, a subtle reminder that even the most bustling empires rely on simple, often overlooked gestures of humanity. With your new equine partner, you head out once more, the rhythmic clatter of hooves against the earth paving the way for stories untold. A world on the move, one steaming bowl at a time, carried by spirit and streamlined by savory broth. With each mile you trek, the shadow of nostalgia stretches longer, bridging past experiences with the mystery of what lies ahead. The next shack should offer a similar welcoming, a similar blend of aromas, and another unseen collection of stones or similar peculiarities, providing continuity within the complexity. These nods to personality and humanity are what make each stop a unique yet interconnected experience. Here in this moment before you unfolds the delicate interplay between man-beast and the thread of empire woven through humble hut's history. You sense again that you are but one in a long line of wayfarers who have relied on these silent allies inhabitants, like the station keeper, with their modest routines and vibrant imaginations. Through their unseen hands and gentle gestures, they keep the lifeblood of the empire streaming, uninterrupted, carving history, one ladle of broth at a time. The scroll you find yourself clutching now is not filled with elaborate art depicting grand victories in battle or declarations from the emperor's mouth. No, your scroll whispers of life's smaller dramas, the stories that make up the fabric of existence. It's a birth announcement, the arrival of a new life, paired unexpectedly with a warning about a spreading plague. Strange, isn't it? The joy of beginnings interwoven with the shadow of potential ends. These stories were inscribed in delicate scripts, sometimes Uyghur, sometimes Persian, other times in Mongolian. their curves and lines etching history onto fragile paper. This scroll, like many others, flutters against your chest as if animated by its own spirit. It threads through the ancient air carried close to your heart as you ride across vast steppes and windswept plains. Who could have imagined such speed? In your mind's eye, you traverse landscapes that once took weeks to cross on foot, now condensed into a blur of dust and sky, beneath your horse's pounding hooves. You feel the energy of the journey bound up in more than just physical motion. It's the urgency of life, of connections stretched across continents. Historians still debate whether these messengers were the unsung heroes of their era, the bearers of crucial information that could avert disasters or unite kin at crucial times. You can't help but think of the previous riders, a line stretching back through time, each bound to this duty of delivery. But today it is your turn to be the medium, the channel through which these stories flow. As you journey, you consider the various other messages that might have traveled this way. The pleas for grain sent in times of famine. Imagine the weight of such a request carried over harsh landscapes by diligent riders. Farmers fearing their harvests would fail their hopes sewn into every letter, including today's missive, filled with both hope and dread. The varied natures of these scrolls prove them more than mere communications. They are the lifelines of their communities. The horse beneath you shudders as if sensing your thoughts. The bond between riders and their horses was legendary. Not just anyone could take up the mantle. Each step creates a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, the terrain rising and falling with each stride, as if breathing alive beneath you. Your mind drifts to the thought of how these routes were formed paths trodden by necessity rather than conquest, each journey inscribing its own map upon the earth. You may have heard stories of the greatest of these postal services, the Mongol Yam, with its established relay stations ensuring speed and accuracy. It was said that Genghis Khan himself established these lines using messengers like you to maintain control over his vast empire. But while administrative control was paramount, the everyday tales you escort tell a deeper story of an empire not just ruled but felt. The scroll you carry presses closer to your heart, a constant reminder of your singular purpose. Despite the uncertainties that lurk with each unfolding day, you know that even actions as simple as these can ripple outward, affecting lives in ways historic battles never could. Lost in these thoughts, the world around you begins to slow as the sun dips beneath the horizon, bleeding colors across the vast sky. Orange and pink hues reflect the scroll's significance as much as the ink inscribed upon it reflects the hopes of its sender. Each rider knows that upon reaching their destination, they won't just deliver a message, but a breath of the world beyond, carried faster than any had once dreamed possible. So you carry on, with the night settling in, and the knowledge that every journey ends with the promise of another beginning. You imagine the faces that await the words tied close to your chest. What joys and sorrow will be unraveled? Who will laugh and who will weep? Who will plant more seeds? because a plea for grain was answered. The night air cooler now starts to soothe with its gentle touch. Stars above scatter like countless lost scrolls, cast into the sky, each one carrying its own secret tale. They serve as reminders that all stories hold power in some form, that yours will mingle with myriad others in the grand tapestry of time. In the stillness, as the loyal horse beneath you keeps its steady pace, you're reminded just how vital this work is. Births will be celebrated, warnings will prompt action, pleas will be heeded. Tomorrow another rider will take over, following the invisible threads. You'll pave the way for proof of your passage, as ephemeral as the scent of crushed grass. Your eyes grow heavier, the gentle rocking of the ride, almost lulling you into a waking dream, where scrolls unravel their secrets in an open field beneath star-studded skies. And in this dream, histories come to life, not through great battles, but in these intrepid journeys and words carried over endless horizons. Let these thoughts guide you into a gentle rest, your mind at ease with the understanding that you've been a part of something timeless and essential. You sit astride your trusty steed, feeling the wind whip through your hair as you embark on a thrilling journey. This is no ordinary ride. You are part of an elite guild of couriers tasked with delivering vital messages across the vast Mongol Empire. The landscape sprawls before you, from the endless steppes to dense forests and towering mountains. As you ride, it's not just the natural barriers you contemplate, but the incredible diversity of people you've met along your routes. You've heard it said that couriers like you weren't always Mongol. They hail from many different backgrounds. Tatars, Uyghurs, Persians, and Chinese voices from all these nations echo around you as you recall their stories. Even fierce and fearless women have joined your ranks, riding alongside you on regional routes, proving that what truly matters is not where you come from, but the speed, loyalty, and skill you bring to the task. In the quiet moments between towns, you think about the skills of your fellow couriers. Some among you speak 5 languages, deftly navigating the multilingual world of trade and diplomacy. Others boast of riding for 5 days without sleep, seemingly invincible to exhaustion, spurred on by purpose and determination. It's a small comfort to know that you're not alone in these hardships, and that across territories there's a shared understanding and respect for the resolve it takes to be one of the Empire's messengers. Historians still debate whether it was the might of Mongol arms or the swiftness of communication that allowed the Empire to maintain such a vast realm. Either way, the Yam couriers are indispensable, and you pride yourself on being part of this network. There's a certain solitude that comes with this role, yet it's countered by the camaraderie you share with your fellow riders. After all, you were chosen not by race, but by your resolve, your spirit of adventure, and your unyielding sense of duty. Riding through the night, you reflect on the history being created with every hoofbeat. The Empire is a patchwork of the conquered, and the conquerors a blend of traditions and knowledge, distilled into something greater than the sum of its parts. With every letter delivered, you're connecting lives, sustaining a web of influence and power that spans continents. Your stomach growls and you remember the horse milk and roasted millet cakes shared by a kindly Tatar family at the last outpost. Simple sustenance, but nourishment that carries with it stories of generations, stories told in quiet conversations over flickering fires, tales of ancestors and legends that bind communities together. In this gathering dark, you wonder at how civilization advances in ways large and small, in leaps and in whispers, much like the sound of your horse trotting into the moonlit shadows. It's these quiet moments between the destinations and deeds that leave the heart soft and the mind alive with possibilities. It's in these stretches of open road that you grasp the enormity of the network you're part of, weaving through the fabric of the land like an ancient living artifact. The historical fact you ponder as you go, the Mongol postal system, or YAM, was an intricate and efficient communications network that Genghis Khan himself is credited with establishing. Surprising details ripple through these journeys, like how some couriers would sing as they rode, using song to mark the passage of time and fend off the silent grip of fatigue. It's a grand and dangerous ballet, and without realizing it, you find yourself humming a tune into the wind, following in the hoofbeats of those who dared to dream and wander. Each note and refrain acts as a grounding force, keeping you alert and anchored as you hurtle through the dark, endless expanse before you. The sky begins to lighten, the starlight fading into the delicate pinks and golds of dawn. You wonder if you'll ever tire of these roads and the curious lives they lead you to, but deep down, you know that this ride, like all others, will end too soon, no matter how far it stretches or how fine the dawn it brings. And so, as the horizon begins to glow softly, you lean into the comfort of knowing yourself as one with the rhythm of the road chest full of dreams not yet forgotten. Amidst the sprawling plains and mighty mountains of the Mongol Empire, you glide silently through the calm night air. There's a powerful, mysterious force at play, a network linking the lands, like a whisper carried on the wind. This is the Yam, the legendary communication system that was the very lifeblood of the Mongol Khanate. As you ride the moon, hanging bright and serene, you can almost hear the echoes of ancient hooves pounding the earth in steady rhythm, delivering urgent messages across thousands of miles. Imagine being one of those riders speeding ahead of time itself. While other kingdoms took weeks, even months to relay commands, Mongol generals would have instructions land in their hands within days. You find yourself suddenly galloping alongside one of these fearless messengers as he expertly weaves through the night, a human arrow perfect in its precision. With every heartbeat, a mission brings you closer to distant lands. Now picture this letter, a humble piece of parchment, being passed from hand to hand, traveling from Beijing all the way to the shores of the distant Caspian Sea. It is a journey calculated perfectly, almost like magic. Historians still debate whether the remarkable efficiency was purely due to the genius of Mongol engineering, or if there was something mystical aiding this network. As your mount races forward, the answer seems etched in the stars above, a magical blend of discipline and fate. Of course, life as a messenger on the Yam was no easy feat. These riders, spirited and determined, faced harsh weather, wild creatures, and the ever-present risk of running into roving bandits. But their resolve matched the vastness of the Mongol reach. You barely flinch as a sudden dust storm swirls up from the steppes, just another challenge to be met and conquered. But you have speeds on your side, and a mischievous burst of speed lets you outpace the whirling dust devil. The secrets behind this rapid service included a relay system of outposts and fresh horses, allowing riders to swap mounts and keep moving at breakneck speed. You grin at the thought of those other postal services struggling along with their old winding routes. The Yam has them all beat hands down. Now, as you continue this journey, what really brings a spark of adventure is the network of roads themselves. The Mongols meticulously designed them to encourage swift passage with bridges, forts, and way stations all well stocked with supplies. Rumors of gold and treasure often circulated tales shared around fires during rest stops, embellished or diminished with every telling. As if reading your mind, the rider next to you gestures towards the stars. It was not uncommon, perhaps whispered by night, that celestial bodies guided these messages, a dash of cosmic luck. Who's to say right? It's easy to believe anything under the velvet sky bridging worlds far apart. Unbelievably, victories often rode ahead of the Mongol army this way, a phenomenon that seems almost too fantastical, something out of legend rather than grounded history. Messages of triumphs or tells of impending battles would reach tribespeople long before the sound of marching boots rumors, forming a part of the landscape like the rolling hills. In this vast empire, where speed could mean the difference between victory and defeat, you can't help but wonder at the ingenuity of it all. And as you sink into the saddle, feeling the gentle sway as your horse carries you further on this indefatigable journey, you marvel at the willpower that flowed like a river through the land, connecting far-flung corners of an empire. Whispers tell of other ways these messages rose to new heights, and one can't help but think, if the sky sometimes carried news on wings, or if unseen eyes lingered out there amidst the stars, watching as kingdoms rose and fell. Finally, with the first light of dawn breaking across the horizon, painting the sky in hues of promise, you realize how deep the impact of such a network spread. Not just a communication link, but the very heart of an empire sustaining and advancing a mighty civilization. It's a silent vow whispered through time, a testament whispered by generations across the windswept steppes of history. But sometimes the message didn't arrive. You imagine yourself as a courier on a winding path through the vast Mongolian steppes. Picture a scene where your horse, trusty but not infallible, stumbles on a hidden rock amidst the grassy terrain. You try to steady yourself, heart racing, knowing that speed and precision are your greatest allies as a courier. A day like today isn't just about making a ride. It's about carrying whispers of the empire that must reach their destination come what may. As you press on the air, chilling the tip of your nose, a sudden blizzard looms over the horizon. The blizzard, unexpected, ferocious, sweeps across the plains, blurring the world into white noise. You buried your face against the horse's mane, the biting cold reminding you that a lost moment is a lost message. It's said that the Mongols could ride for days without rest, their ponies as resilient as the warriors themselves. But even so, there are uncertainties that nature alone could right. On another ride, you might find yourself accosted by bandits' shadows that seem to melt from the landscape, intent on intercepting the words you carry. While it's known, the Mongols kept peace through strength, even they couldn't always thwart the gang of men who would rather take than earn. A quick tussle, and the message slips through your fingers, a gasp, lost to the wind as the outlaws vanish, just as quickly as they appeared. In times like these, when the message doesn't arrive, the weight of the empire feels heavy on your shoulders. It's not just about the delivery, but the trust placed upon you, a sacred bond. The consequences of failure don't bear thinking on for long, as punishment is swift, needing no explanation in times of war and conquest. Did you know that simply being late with a message, not even losing it, could mean death? Historians still debate whether this policy was as harshly enforced as legend suggests, but nonetheless, the fear of reprisal was certainly real enough. You imagine standing before a Mongol commander once the storm has cleared and the bandits are a nebulous memory. You explain the wet snow still melting off the fringes of your jacket, as eyes assess you with an intensity that speaks to the seriousness of the breach. The Mongols didn't allow for the words of the empire, the commands, the plans, the assurances to fall away like so many snowflakes on a barren steppe. Yet even in such unyielding times, there must have been stories of remarkable resilience of couriers who braved the odds and returned with their heads held high. Perhaps one such story, dusty in its origins, speaks of a rider who conserved his strength, rested his horse with cunning stratagems beneath stone ledges, and outlasted the endless reach of a storm. The bandits, discouraged by the quick wit of a deceiver, lost track, and the message thought lost saw light in a faraway encampment, affirming that messages carried heartbeats of the empire. Though set against almost insurmountable odds, you are drawn into the lives of these couriers who carried history in their satchels. You imagine the pride mingled with fear, a heady concoction that would drive one forward even as they question the capriciousness of the journey. In the heart of the empire's golden age, could anyone truly calculate the value of stories like these, whispered in yurts and fireside tales? And as you drift further into the tale, somewhere beyond reality, consider for a moment that the historical records don't quite capture the human element. Did each delayed message actually alter the fabric of world history? As abruptly as one thinks, might there have been compassion as well, moments where understanding overshadowed rigid rules, allowing grace to intervene in a harsh landscape? Perhaps, though evidence is scant, another of those tendrils of uncertainty historians mused over during midnight debates. Remember, though, that these journeys were filled with silence as much as action and the steady clip of hooves upon cold earth. The sense of isolation, the solitude turning to camaraderie with your steed, these are the unseen co-authors of history's mightiest epistles. After all, the stones of the steppe were their manuscript and the wind their prose. As the world around you retreats deeper into night, you let loose another yarn of this twilight history, unraveling it tenderly for those who wish to learn, even amidst the haze of encroaching sleep. The rhythm of hoofbeats becomes the metronome of your heartbeat, calming and trancing until words are replaced by dreams. And so you sail into a world crafted from yurt circles and roaring campfires, resting with the knowledge that messages can shape destiny one ride at a time. You find yourself settled comfortably beneath a vast starlit sky, where the moon hangs like a silver lantern, casting its gentle light on the plains below. The shadows stretch and dance across the earth, as if painting a living canvas for your eyes to decipher. You're out here with the wind at your back, the endless grassland spreading before you, and it's time to delve into the world of Mongol riders. Those brave nomads didn't need paper maps. Oh no, their minds were as vast and detailed as the steppes they traversed. Every bend of a river, every rustle of wind through the grass had a place in their mental landscapes, their knowledge etched by light and smell, by the feel of soil under the hooves of their sturdy horses. Perhaps in this world, you sense the iron tang of adventure in the air, comforting yet invigorating. These riders navigated journeys far greater than any modern road trip you might take. Actually, you probably won't survive this if you try it without a GPS today. Such was the expanse of their territory and the rigor of their understanding of nature's signs. These Mongol riders didn't merely look at the stars for inspiration. They read them navigating with the constellations as their unfaltering guide. The silhouettes of distant hills whispered directions, mapping their course like a living, breathing compass. As you imagine this, remember there's a universe overhead, written in stars that have guided civilizations for eons. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You might post your location and local time too. It's interesting how we all connect like stars in a vast universal web. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. As you nestle deeper into the world of thought and imagination, consider the riders galloping across the steppes, each hoofbeat a heartbeat in the rhythm of the earth. Feel the wind in your hair, the constant companionship of your horse beneath you. So in tune, you could ride as once, even in the inky blackness of night. The Mongols living humbly relied on no structured path. Their journey was ever moving, much like the stars above that charted their courses. Each Mongol was taught to listen to the land, ridiculous as it may sound, feeling the texture of the soil beneath to sense direction and location. Soft earth near a stream would mean fresh water nearby, while stony ground might hint at higher ground. A place to see the open plains unfold like a vast canvas. The intimacy with which they engaged with their surroundings was both their strength and their heritage. You float further into this experience, contemplating how historians debate whether the Mongols' conquests would have been so effective without their ability to navigate so instinctively. They built a formidable empire without concrete borders or walls, their map etched in the essence of the terrain. Imagine the confidence charging into the night, trusting your instincts like they did. Would you feel a thrill or a sense of trepidation? Now picture, if you will, a rider stopping for the night, the gentle snort of a horse breaking the silence, stars twinkling, like ancient guides never losing their way. The riders relied on their memory of every nuance of the day, a tapestry of experiences bound only by the horizon. They carried no parchments in their saddlebags, only the stories of their fathers and the songs of their forebears. The beauty of their journey was in its fluidity. The wayward breeze might bring the scent of a distant herd, an unexpected oasis, or the warning signs of an approaching storm. These fragments pieced together like chapters in a story too grand to be written a story, in which you now float easily drawn along by curiosity and the comfort of timeless exploration. In this space without borders or ticking clocks, consider the grandeur of a people who knew no static way of life. Close your eyes and let the rhythm of your own breathing mingle with the imagined hoofbeats under the vault of stars. Who knew that under the vast clear skies of Central Asia, the world's histories unfolded, guided by the simplest of stars and the feel of the earth below. And remember, somewhere out there, people still gaze up, deciphering the very same sky, perhaps dreaming of adventure. As you slowly slip into a tranquil rest, let your mind drift over fields and hills, sail across the ancient sea of grass, following the invisible paths of those nomadic maps, etched forever in the eternal landscape of dreams. As we wander back through the mists of time, you find yourself amidst a caravan, making its way along an endless road of dust and anticipation. The scroll in your pack bears ancient scripts, each curl of parchment hinting at stories of old remedies for ailments you've yet to encounter, or charts of forgotten territories. These scrolls are your companions, their whispered wisdom always present, echoing in your mind as you ride. But knowledge alone doesn't ensure survival in these lands. Slung across your back is a bow, a simple design yet expertly crafted. Not an instrument of war, but a tool of necessity, it rests lightly ready. And what sounds so leisurely, learning to wield such a thing was indeed vital, given the territories you traverse. Historians still debate whether these scroll carriers were mere scholars, or had the martial prowess to rival seasoned warriors. Either way, where stray arrows and keen eyes meet, safety often follows. You navigate along the traveler's roads, the gentle campfire warmth mixed with horse sweat, and the occasional pine scent hinting at the forest's edge you ride past. Those forests a whisper away from the main track held more than timber riches or foraging grounds. Wolves have eyes that catch moonlight just right to remind you of nature's more persistent dangers. Sometimes they shadow you, their silent pursuit, an echo of your trek, a game of endurance to see whether the arrow would come or if they could close the gap. But the real frontier you face isn't of man or beast. It is of time and wear. The saddle beneath you, a sturdy construct of leather and patience, is your sanctuary. Many who ride these paths feel it's the endurance of the journey more than the destination that defines their passage. Much like the Mongolian riders of legend, whose very lives were intertwined with their horses, Your path seems mapped to the rhythmic drumbeat of hooves against earth. Surprisingly, it's the small things that catch you off guard, like the unexpected kindness from a stranger met at a crossroads, offering you fresh water drawn from a hidden well. Decisions made in haste, like trusting a new face or taking a shortcut through unfamiliar terrain, serve as reminders of a world where trust was sacred. There's a superstition tied to these scroll bearers whispered around firesides. Some say each scroll collector is marked by fate, that the roads they take are divined by celestial bodies, and the alignments studied by ancient robed figures. Whether it's true or just a tale to spark imaginations, your journey becomes layered with wonder as you spot stars twinkling through cloud breaks, perhaps guiding you despite their silence. As you drift further into this world, absorbed by the rhythmic cadence of stories whispered in the wind and the steady drum of hooves, you notice the shift in terrain. Fields give way to craggy outcrops, and with each rise and fall of the earth you cross, there's an unspoken promise resilience will see you through. It lends you the patience of a tortoise, the kind that built empires or watched others crumble through ages. And in carrying these artifacts of knowledge and protection, you become a link in this great chain of seekers, where scrolls speak louder than swords, and endurance rules over fleeting glory. Riding into the calming brightness of a breaking dawn, you discover that survival in this rugged world isn't just about carrying weapons or knowledge. It's about the melding of the two. Your experiences shape you. Each mile etches lessons across your heart and mind, just as surely as each letter is inked upon the scroll you carry. Some messages you receive are no ordinary scribbles pressed onto paper or scrawled onto parchment. You trace your fingers across the cool, smooth wax undisturbed by centuries still bearing the mark of the great Khan himself, a sign of power so immense you can almost feel the echo of his rule through your fingertips. As you examine the wax seal, you can't help but notice the imprint of magnificence, a regal insignia that held the entire world in its thrall. Historians still debate whether the couriers of these messages ever truly grasped the magnitude of the responsibilities placed upon their shoulders. They weren't merely mail carriers of their day, but guardians of secrets so crucial that they could alter the course of history. War strategies and trade routes lay hidden within these scrolls, intricately folded and bound, not just with seals, but wrapped in layers of intrigue. You draw closer, seeing that some of these messages are surprisingly embellished with 3 layers of seal. Each one adds an extra shroud of mystery and protection, a testament to the paranoia, or perhaps the prudence, of those who dared not let their words stray into the wrong hands. You wonder about the hands that sealed these messages firm, yet delicate, knowing that a single slip or misplaced seal might unravel everything. Unusually, a few of these messages flaunt little strings attached. You might think these are mere ornamental flourishes, but no, they serve a more sinister, surreptitious function, a clever trap to betray any who would dare tamper with them. Designed with intricate care, Such precautionary measures echo the times when espionage was a deadly game played by those adept at both deception and detection. The couriers themselves, you imagine, lived lives of tension, balanced on a knife's edge. The tales they might tell, riding the ancient roads, every gust of wind could seem like the soft footfall of a lurking enemy. Their eyes, trained to scan the horizon, could catch even the faintest silhouette of betrayal at twilight. You think about how they might have shared these incredible tales of survival and near misses by a roaring fire, casting long shadows on the walls of whichever refuge they managed to find for the night. Can you picture the scene? A camp nestled under a canopy of stars, voices hushed yet vibrant. In some ways, you might find ironic comfort in knowing that back then, just as now, there was always someone trying to intercept your texts. Even in such precarious times, these couriers bore messages not just of wartime stratagems, but of trust and commerce. Trade routes that empires relied upon teetered upon these scrolls, their contents steering the ebbs and flows of prosperity. One might speculate rather whimsically how many silks and spices traveled owing to the silent pact between the sender and the bearer. Yet in all this there remains an air of academic uncertainty. Just how many messages actually fell into the wrong hands, sealed by the very methods designed to protect them. Tales of accidents and betrayals persist, whispering through the pages of history, but records remain elusive. You find yourself lulled by the rhythm of this imagined world, the thought of ancient secrets nestled fastidiously in wax and clay, waiting for the keen eyes of posterity to decode their slumbering truths. Would you too have been able to resist the temptation to pry into these mysteries? Or would you have succumbed, letting curiosity overtake discretion? In exploring these sealed messages, you uncover not just a world of secrets buried beneath layers of wax and clay, but a narrative that spans centuries, one that speaks not just of war and betrayal, but of the human spirit's relentless quest for connection. As night creeps in, stories of ancient lands long shrouded in whispers draw you further into slumber. And in your dreams, the couriers ride once more, navigating paths lined with shadow and light under a firmament painted with the tales of time itself. The snow stretches in all directions, a curtain of white so intense that even as you squint, shapes become mere ghosts against the horizon. The wind howls softly, a constant companion, yet you find comfort in this frozen landscape. You ride on your face, cocooned in layers of felt that have been skillfully wrapped to guard against the biting chill. With eyes narrowed to thin slits, you become one with the snowstorm, moving silently and determinedly forward. Each breath draws in the frigid air, yet you're undeterred. Once many traversed these northernmost routes, intrepid souls who would not be halted by mere weather or the creeping tendrils of fear. You remind yourself of those ancient riders, whisperers, among the flakes who saw beauty where others saw only peril. They whispered tales of survival and endurance through frost-tipped lips. You recall that these journeys often took them to places unknown, driven by necessity and curiosity. The land here that seems so hostile was once traversed by the likes of the formidable Mongol horsemen, who are said to have adapted remarkably to the arts of winter travel. They covered their horses' hooves with cloth to prevent slipping and innovation. One can only hope that modern riders like yourself have employed, though historians still debate how much this practice truly benefited them compared to other myriad inventions. A spruce tree laden with snow reminds you of the tale of how some riders in the past used tree bark to light fires and guide their paths through the darkest nights. Imagine themselves in pitch black, where even the stars seem to hide behind the clouds of snow, their fires like beacons, drawing one closer to survival. Yet, the presence of such fiery guides is scarce today, with technology largely easing those hardships. The past, however, tugs at your mind with tales of survival and instinct, ancient ways and legends that resonate with the granular shift of snow underfoot, just as it was voiced by those mounted shadow figures long ago, figures whose presence you sometimes feel etched into the fabric of these lands. The hush falls deeper now, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You adjust your grip, the felt beneath your fingers, reassuring and steady. It's oddly comforting, this steady advance into the white unknown. Your heart thrums with the adventure, each beat reverberating with the subtle excitement that comes from living through the pages of history, walking alongside giants from a past world. A sudden gust momentarily clears your vision, revealing a fleeting glimpse of what could very well be a path traced by those you follow. It's as if the wind wishes to remind you that you are but one amongst many, a continuing story in the mighty saga of this wilderness. You press on unconcerned by the deceptive serenity of the snow. Its dangers are well known, but you too wear the mantle of courage adorned by so many before you. There's a touch of playful stubbornness in the air, a nod to that cheeky instinct which insists you probably won't survive this round of nature's rigors. But those snow-blurred souls push you guides in this ethereal open book of landscapes and myths. They remind you of that one time in history when entire caravans would disappear, swallowed by the unyielding whiteness, and would only be discovered months or sometimes years later, preserved in snow, a testament to resilient journeys. Those discoveries have puzzled historians who still debate the actual cause of such disappearances, speculating about unforeseen snowfalls or simple errors on the trail. You chuckle gently to yourself as you navigate another drift, thinking of how the past is woven into your every thread. And breath here, a tapestry vast and intertwined, where even a single snowflake has a rich story of its descent. Through it all, your breath mingles with the cold, crystallizing memories into wisps of history that follow you into the veil. Pressed on like whispers, the riders march. The storm does its best to roar them back, but you know, out here there are other things stronger than the weather, courage, warmth, and the ever-beating heart of adventure. And thus this journey unfolds each step, a stitch in the continuous cloth of time. One more whisper in a world that hums with stories waiting to be told. Silent nights envelop you as you imagine yourself in the shoes of one of history's most enigmatic figures, a yam courier of the ancient Chinese Empire. You step quietly, almost floating over the beaten paths that weave between swaying bamboo groves and under the watchful eyes of towering mountains. The world around you is a vast canvas painted with the subtle hue of dusk, where the only sound that accompanies your journey is the soft whisper of wind threading through the leaves. Your task is singular and straightforward: to deliver the precious yam, not the tuberous vegetable we think of today, but a message. The heart of the Empire's communications system beats silently with every step you take. The couriers of ancient China's yam system were revered for their silence, a practice of necessity rather than choice. Words were weight invisible but heavy, like lead in the empyrean expanse of their responsibilities. One might think that such silence could be lonely, yet in this tranquility, you find a peculiar camaraderie. With the other couriers bonded not by chatter but by purpose. At the relay stations, simplicity rules. You detach the yam wrapped in cloth and bound with twine from your belt, handing it over with little more than a nod. Your counterpart, in a practiced motion, returns the gesture before turning away to resume the path. These stations are like brief oases of human contact amidst the vast desert of your solitary trek. Historians still debate whether these silent exchanges carried more weight than they appear. Did the nod conceal unspoken wisdom, or was brevity the true art? You slip into the discipline of quietude these couriers were known for. The early Han dynasty placed immense trust in this system, crucial for sending decrees and information across sprawling territories. This network, like an ancient web sprawling across the empire, was both a marvel and a testament to human ingenuity. One surprising detail is the variance in the courier's apparel. According to regions, with some sporting garments lined with goat fat to protect against harsh winters, a trick of ancient resourcefulness. Navigating through the sometimes treacherous terrain, you occasionally encounter natural barriers where bridges are nothing more than a couple of swinging logs. The wind whips past your ears as you step with certainty, mentally bookmarking these moments of vulnerability. Academics still ponder over ancient texts that suggest some couriers trained in acrobatics to vault over obstacles, their silence a stealthy accompaniment to their agility. You press on the relay stations, becoming familiar checkpoints, comforting in their consistency. Each courier you meet has their unique nod, a subtle dip of the chin, or perhaps a more formal bow. It's in these quiet moments you sense an undercurrent of respect, a silent acknowledgement of shared duty and mutual understanding. The yams are passed on through this network of nods and silent waves, messages in a bottle floating through the sea of land. The origins of the yam system are as misty as the mountains you traverse, with tales passed down that speak of emperors utilizing this network to maintain their hold over volatile regions, all without raising their voices. It was an era where power was not broadcast with boisterous declarations, but rather through the quiet efficacy of a well-delivered note. In this subtle dance of second-person perspective, you find yourself reminded of the weight of silence amidst the bubbling cacophony of the modern world. Perhaps the yam couriers were not just messengers, but philosophers in motion, embodying the ethos that sometimes the most profound impact requires no words at all. They didn't just carry messages, they watched, they listened, they reported rebellions, harvest failures, rumors of unrest. Yam was a postal service and an intelligence net, light-footed, soft-voiced, always watching. You find yourself woven into this delicate network of observation and secrecy as you wander the ancient trails. The winds seem to whisper secrets of long ago whispers carried through couriers who knew more than they ever spoke. With each footfall, you imagine the thousands before you who thread softly through the corridors of power across empires, tasked with both the humble role of a messenger and the profound duty of a silent observer. These couriers of the Yam network were not mere deliverers of parchment. They were the finely attuned ears and eyes of vast realms. Imagine yourself unspooling trails through rugged terrains and bustling markets, where each town square you pass holds both the potential to yield a missive as ordinary as accounts of grain, or as critical as the pulse of rebellion. In the kind of reality check that gives your role weight, you'd remember that historians still debate whether Yam couriers were furiously composed or treading on the edge of anxiety, given their dual responsibilities. The spark of potential danger is something you carry with the care of messages in a pouch. Your curiosity is piqued when you uncover peculiar remnants of the past. Did you know that some couriers reportedly utilized wax-sealed speaking tubes to keep the threads of sensitive conversations unbroken? It's a surprising detail that highlights the ingenuity of ancient intelligence networks, blending the simplicity of wax with the formality of a tube. As you envision the moonlit roads these couriers traversed, you consider the ambiguity and allure wrapped in those footsteps. Perhaps the silence of night cloaked their passage just as much as it unveiled other whispered secrets they'd overhear. Each message, simple or grand, served a greater purpose in maintaining the fragile balance of empires. It interlinked destinies wrapped within the quiet folds of their journeys. Going deeper into this tale, consider how each courier in their own way added a thread to a tale larger than any they could recount alone. Every nod from a local vendor, every raised eyebrow from a curious stranger, was a chapter of observation laid gently into the courier's narrative, and yours by extension, bridging a world rich in stories both told and untold. This intricate ballet of observation and reportage engaged you not just as a participant, but as a caretaker of histories that unfold with each step and turn of heart. As night envelops your path, you settle into the rhythm of the Yam, carrying whispers of harvest, echoes of tension, all while blending seamlessly into the quiet hum of a world at rest. Somewhere in this mix of delivery and discretion, you feel the faint echo of each heartbeat of correspondence past, and observe the layered dance between what is revealed and what love remains unsaid, tucked carefully within each carried message. Amidst this narrative dance, remember, you are not merely wandering the trail. You're weaving a narrative thread that spans cultures and centuries. So with each careful step, embrace the honor of silence and speech, interwoven as you drift seamlessly into the gentle, restful hum of night. You find yourself standing in the grand halls of the great Khan's palace, It's 1266 a year that feels like a whispered, timeless promise of adventure. The air around you is thick with the scents of exotic spices, as if the tales of 1,000 lands had collectively taken in a deep breath. Before you stands an envoy holding a letter from Kublai Khan himself, a letter destined for Europe, a realm so distant it might as well be the moon. Historians often wonder if such missions were driven by political strategy or sheer curiosity. But one thing is certain, this was no mere parchment of trifles. The document you carry is akin to a treasure map, guiding you across the Silk Road through the lands of the Yam, a vast Mongolian communication network that stretched over formidable distances like an ancient internet of horse hooves. You embark on this journey astride a loyal steed, your heart steady with the knowledge that travelers before you survived this route. Probably. As the landscape ebbs and flows around you from lush valleys to harsh ravines, you consider the resourcefulness of those who relied on the Yam to traverse these territories, much like using a map on your phone today. Yet the more you imagine it, the more surreal it feels you, an unassuming courier amidst the realms of kings and conquerors. While you gallop through the endless stretch of landscape, you recall your history lessons, how Kublai Khan, hailing from the Mongol Empire at its zenith, had eyes set on expanding his influence far beyond the Asian continent. The lands you cross have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, their stories buried beneath layers of times long past. You pass ancient ruins that stand like ghosts against foreboding skies, with tales that historians still debate. Was this the work of natural decay or the wrath of forgotten wars? Amidst all this history, an unusual detail prickles your attention. Legend speaks of a breed of wild singing camels, peculiar enough to rival any mythical creature. Some say their song is a soft lull of desert winds, a melody inviting wayward travelers to listen closely beneath the stars. You pause on this thought as you clutch the sealed message tighter, knowing well the potential of bizarre encounters further in your path. But on you must ride each mile, bringing you closer to the wondrous confluence of continents. Nights turn to days as the heavens unroll their star-spangled maps above you. Every step your horse takes is echoed in the shadows of those who roamed before. Eventually, the sprawling reach of the Mongol Empire begins to fade behind you, and the familiar scents of Asia are replaced by the more rustic aromas of European fields. The journey is long, yet there is solace in the quiet rhythm of travel, a lullaby in the gentle jangle of pack gears, and the rustle of leaves that tell stories of winds from places afar. It's as if the earth itself is singing you to sleep under the moon's watchful gaze, wrapping you in a blanket of tranquility. Then, almost as if it had been conjured from your dreams, Rome emerges on the horizon, a city humming with the breath of history itself. The cobblestones beneath your feet resound with echoes of an ancient empire as you navigate its winding streets. The weight of centuries of culture hangs in the air, mingling with the distant murmurs of your predecessors' tales. As you arrive at your destination, the letter finally passes from your hands, a small ripple in the vast lake of human history, now made complete. You've experienced firsthand how with patience, and perseverance. Words can bridge gaps between worlds. The dust of leagues traveled clings to your cloak as if whispering the secrets of those long-gone journeys. History takes a deep breath, ready to guide the world into its next chapter as the document finds its place amongst the monumental exchanges that lay the groundwork for new alliances and pontifical ponderings. But for you, dear traveler, as the sun dips beneath the horizon, marking another cycle's end, a gentle calm settles over you. The journey has been long and full of wonder, just another story in the ceaseless march of time. As you reflect on the tales of the Silk Road, the yam conveyors, and those cryptic crooning camels, let your mind wander gently into repose. Rest now under the serene canvas of the night sky, letting this story find its way into the dreams that await. The world, as vast and unfathomable as it is, drifts softly into the night like a cradle, rocking gently in the evening breeze. When the empire fractured, so did Yam. Stations were abandoned, routes overgrown. But for a century, it had carried orders, dreams, and sometimes death faster than anyone thought possible. And now, you find yourself standing at the brink of this story, in a world where the past whispers secrets through ancient pathways long forgotten. You wander past crumbling stone markers that once stood proud and tall along the yam's roots. They are now mere ghosts of their former selves, shrouded in a mist of time and nature's relentless reclaim. Vines reach up, weaving a thick tapestry around these stones, as if to protect them from the outside world. It's hard to believe that these paths, now lost beneath layers of earth and foliage, were once alive with the bustling footsteps of messengers and travelers. The network known as the Yam was ingenious in its simplicity and effectiveness. At its height, it stretched across the lands, conquered by an ambitious empire connecting distant corners like stitches in a vast quilt. Messengers rode tirelessly from station to station, relaying vital tidings that could sway the balance of power or save a distant city on the verge of despair. As you walk further, you try to imagine the rustle of hooves and the determined faces of those riders. It was a system built not only on speed and endurance, but on trust and necessity. The empire's reach extended with each message, delivered each bundle of parchment exchanged at a gallop. Even now, historians still debate whether the Yam's true success lay in its physical infrastructure or in the unwavering commitment of those who served it. Yet with the empire's fall, this intricate web unraveled. Like a gold-threaded tapestry left in the damp, the pathways of Yam deteriorated. The life it once pulsed through its veins, seeping out to where the nature could embrace it once more. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the earth, you picture an ancient rider in silhouette, a character from another time, riding along a path, etched in memory, but erased by time. A rider bearing not just news, but also the weight of countless hopes and fears, each as fragile as the next. One of the most surprising aspects of the Yam was its use of way stations strategically placed for rest and relay. Not mere inns or stables, these were hubs of strategy and communication. Within their walls, decisions were made that could alter destinies. It's rumored that in some stations, secret rooms contained maps of lands still untamed. Imagine stepping into one such way, station at dusk. The air is thick with the scent of hearth smoke and age, the walls groaning under tales untold. The ghostly echoes of hurried conversations and the clatter of stirrups haunt the corners. Alas, these stations too could not withstand the onslaught of time. You reach what might have once been a grand hall, now an empty shell. Psychologists suggest that places embedded with deep historical significance often leave an imprint on our minds, guiding our emotions even centuries beyond their prime. This is one of those places. As you stand there, you feel a curious connection, as if the ancient riders had left behind invisible trails, urging you to uncover their stories, to piece together fragments of a time when their urgency fueled the beating heart of an empire. In the quiet moments between the songs of distant birds and the rustle of the dying breeze, you find yourself reflecting on the impermanence of human endeavor. Much like the yam, all that was once vital eventually faces the gentle embrace of oblivion. Yet in its time, it carried orders and dreams as naturally as the rivers carry water to the sea. You take a deep breath, a sense of peace settling over you, like a soft blanket in the cool evening air. These journeys, both real and imagined, remind you that even as some paths end, others always begin. The Empire Yam and its messengers may well be silhouettes of the past, but the essence of their journeys endures, whispering to those willing to listen. You turn to leave the path behind, feeling the echoes of riders and messages intertwined with your own footsteps. As the shadows grow longer, the sky deepening to the colors of dusk. In the silence, you find a gentle solace knowing that while empires rise and fall, their stories linger on, stitched into the fabric of the world, like the fading light at day's end. And perhaps, just perhaps, should you return to these paths, you might hear the gallop of hooves, the distant call of a rider who once was long ago. But for now, as the world darkens, you are content to leave them to their rest, echoing steeds and messengers of an empire that once was. Tomorrow is another day, with new paths awaiting your steps and new stories to uncover. But tonight, let the whispers of the yam guide you gently into a slumber where roads long traveled resurface in dreams carrying timeless tales of yore. Imagine the sound of hoofbeats pounding rhythmically against a worn dirt path, the chill of a night breeze gliding past you as you grip the reins of your horse. You are part of an ancient and daring operation, a messenger within a vast network that threads its way across distant lands. The landscape around you is stark moonlight sketching shadows on the slopes of distant hills. The stars are guides strewn across a velvety sky, familiar yet ever-changing, akin to the task you undertake. The great Yam system stretched across ancient Persia, and you, a lone rider, are a crucial cog in its relentless machinery. Your role in this system is to relay vital messages with the utmost expediency, a living link in a chain of human endeavor that turned mere hours into a thriving communication web spanning thousands of kilometers. With every leap forward, you tap into the prestige of this system, one that even Alexander the Great once admired for its remarkable efficiency. Little did he know this network, thriving in its time, was a harbinger of the communication revolutions that would echo down through history. Your packages, bound tightly in cloth saddlebags, jostle with every trot, reminding you of the urgency impressed upon their swift and safe delivery. Mercury, the Roman god of messages, might have envied the speed at which news traveled along the yam routes, thanks to a relay system second to none. It was a simple concept, yet profoundly effective: horse stations spaced out perfectly, so messengers like you could change horses at a gallop, ensuring the flow of information was never broken. There's an oddity you notice as you gallop through. At each post, the postmasters, clad in their thick woolen cloaks, appear like sentinels carved from stone, yet their eyes burn with the knowledge that flows through their hands. Some say these postmasters are chosen for their memory, able to recall passages and codes as if they were naturally endowed with an extraordinary gift. Historians still debate whether these postmasters were truly capable of feats like reciting documents from memory, or if it was merely myth, fashioned through the passage of time. And as you ride enduring in the night, persistence rings in your strides. The messengers of old were regarded almost with a reverence similar to the postmen of later eras, a reminder that even in routes flanked by thickets and sweeping sands, reliability was the most valuable currency. Suddenly, through the obscurity of night, there's a clearing ahead and the silhouette of another rider, a fellow messenger traveling the opposite direction. There's a brief nod exchanged, because even in your solitary role, there's a connection defined by the shared purpose. It's reminiscent of couriers today, perhaps those dedicated souls, crisscrossing neighborhoods, leaving packages on porches. Your path tonight is a continuation of a legacy that reverberates through centuries. The idea of relay hasn't been lost. Modern counterparts have taken its reins with a digital nod, replacing the physical handoff. Still, in certain moments like this, in the heart of the night, moving steadfastly between destinations, you're sure you can almost hear the faint echo of metal horseshoes against stone, whispering stories of endurance and commitment. Finally, as the sky begins to shade into pre-dawn silver, you reach a station where fresh horses wait their breath visible in the crisp air. The station master, with their watchful eyes, helps you dismount, and you transfer the precious package onto a fresh mount. A quick exchange, respectful yet efficient time is of the essence. Today, people nod at their GPS screens, watching their parcels make swift progress across continents with similar precision and reliability to your ancient ride tracing routes, no less important. It stirs a sense of wonder. What you participate in is more than a systems operation. It's a living testament to human innovation and the relentless pursuit for connectivity. As the postal systems and courier services evolved, growing into sophisticated networks, they carry forward the spirit of your midnight pursuit, relay reliability, and a touch of human horsepower. And somewhere in the world, even now, your express package might just be echoing the distant drum of hooves into the night, carrying forward a legacy that time refuses to let fade. When the night deepens and the world quiets down, This story lulls to a gentle pause. The accomplishments of the past blend into the progress of the present, resting upon the promise of fidelity and speed. As you find calm in the recalling, there's a soothing tranquility in knowing that this historical bridge built and maintained through valiances like yours still arches its way into the future, ensuring messages float safely against the currents of time. In the quiet of a world dimmed by night, your eyes close, and you find yourself drawn into the gentle embrace of history's whispers. You wander through shadowy cobblestone streets, each echo of your footfall, a reminder of the past's unwavering presence. You hear it before you see it, the soft thud of hooves drawing you closer to the heart of an ancient world where messages of great consequence traveled in the night. Here you are in the flickering torchlight of a medieval village where messengers rode under the veil of darkness. They carried with them scrolls sealed with wax bearing tidings that could alter the course of kingdoms. It's intriguing, isn't it, that the same night sky you gaze upon now once bore witness to the silent tribes of messenger riders pressed into service, whether under the shivering stars of a deep winter night or the oppressive air of a summer's eve. As you stand there, a figure darts by on horseback, invisible in the night, save for the silhouette against an occasional moonbeam. You find yourself marveling at the trust placed in these nocturnal travelers, not for the faint of heart, nor the weary of mind, for behind those sealed letters were the dreams and dreads of powerful men-maps of uncharted futures, drawn with a quill's edge. You can't help but muse in a playful yet foreboding tone that you probably wouldn't survive these perilous trails unscathed. And as you watch the rider disappear into the night, the realization seeps in. These were no ordinary errands. War declarations solemn and binding were whispered across the parchment. Historians still debate whether one errant missive once sparked the 100 Years' War, each blame shifting silently from hand to forgotten hand. But then, who's to say those riders didn't have their own burdens to bear, unexpected stories of love, or betrayal wrapped tightly beneath cold leather cloaks? The clattering hooves recede, leaving only the unbroken stillness of the night behind. It's a reminder of a time when shadowy figures were messengers of both peace and panic. You ponder the peculiarities of an age where haste and stealth were twin necessities, yet it was no faster than the stride of a galloping horse. Did the messengers truly know what they carried, or did they simply ride with the weight of their mission slung across their shoulders like scarlet cloaks? Just as you're wrapped in thoughts of historical what-ifs and might-have-beens, another whisper of history draws near this time, an exiled prince's plea, threaded with hope and despair, mapped out over miles of wilderness. It's a curious thing how exile could just as easily be a sentence as it was a salvation. Yet as the hoofbeats throbbed through the darkness, who among the recipients slept easy? Not then, not now. But now, as your mind drifts softly back to the present, you find solace in the rhythm of your breathing, the surety of your world a world apart from the nocturnal flights and fateful deliveries of antiquated questing riders. History may remember the hoofbeats, but your heart is steady, wrapped in the safety of the night's embrace, far from the shadowed races against time. The cloak of history draws up tighter around you, lulling you into near sleep. Your thoughts dance lazily along the cobblestones, seeing visions of ink blotches on precious parchment riders' shadows flitting over moonlit hills. You let them fade, a gentle tide uncovering deeper waters, personal dreams out of history's watchful gaze. You can rest now knowing those hoofbeats are but ghosts upon the wind, a deep exhalation, a fading heartbeat, a lullaby of forgotten urgency. Let the past carry its stories, its joys and fears on the wind of history. All is quiet now, save for your breath and the reassuring rhythm of time slipping softly into the arms of dawn. Sleep, and let your dreams wander where they may, unburdened by the messages of the night.